Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 5 of the series. Chapter 98, I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 98, I'm looking forward to it. Heiress stood there, his eyes drawn to his steak left cold and uneaten. His face was ashen, and he felt like he had been slapped. It was an embarrassing sight than if they had just told him Heiress's cooking was better than his. Heiress must have known the truth all along. Hence her calm and unflappable composure. She was probably laughing at him in her heart of hearts. "What are you doing here?" Heiress asked. Heiress was deceptively calm. Having eaten over half of the steak, he wiped his mouth and put down the unfinished steak. "Third brother, Heiress's cooking is better than yours," Heiress said, serious yet casual. "We feared you would be embarrassed if you lost, so we kept the truth from you. Don't blame Heiress. Am I such a sore loser in your minds?" Heiress murmured gloomily. "Of course not," Heiress quickly denied. Heiress was not so much a sore loser as he was unpredictable when things did not go as planned. Ever since he was young, whenever he felt inferior to others in any way, he would study hard until he won or the other party surrendered. How many people could stand up against such fervor? They were afraid Heiress would vent his displeasure on Heiress. Heiress smiled kindly and said, "Third brother, would you like to try some?" Heiress glared at Heiress, his rage wound up tightly behind an icy mask. He hesitated briefly, dithering at the door, but eventually stalked toward Heiress's plate of steak. He cut a small piece and popped it into his mouth. In an instant, a drastic change overcame his steely expression. The beef was so tender and juicy that it melted in his mouth. It smelled out of this world, with a mixture of mellow fragrances balancing the heaviness of the meat, courtesy of the white wine and mushrooms used as a base for the steak sauce. Every bite was an explosion of flavors, numbing his teeth and sending goosebumps down his arms. The slight spiciness from the onions complemented the ensemble, taking the steak to greater heights. It was so perfect that perfection could no longer describe it. His steak was nothing compared to this. While he ate, Heiress explained, "We were using beef tenderloin in this competition. There's no need to use the edge of the chopping knife to tenderize it more than necessary. Doing so will affect its texture. Once the beef has been seasoned, sear it evenly on both sides for 6 minutes. That is the optimal length of time to cook a steak like this. The rest isn't too hard, it just takes time and practice." Heiress's explanation made it sound so simple. "Isn't that something I can do?" Heiress cursed. Heiress was about to nod when Heiress added his penny's worth, "How can it be that easy?" Heiress had not even used a timer earlier. In other words, she was so familiar with cooking the steak that Heiress could cook it with her eyes closed. That was why she could say it so easily. But she was probably the only one who could easily accomplish the feat. Heiress finished the small piece and instinctively moved to get another, but he rebelled against the impulse. "Where did you learn to cook?" Heiress demanded, his steely gaze fixed on Heiress. "I cooked a lot at home, especially when bored," Heiress replied. Heiress refused to believe her. Blinking playfully, Heiress said, "They can't keep an eye on me 24 hours a day." That was true. Heiress gradually calmed, his anger simmering instead of explosive. "Looks like our future. Life will be very interesting," he said wryly. Heiress's scalp immediately went numb, and alarm bells rang. "Third brother, don't be like that." Heiress did not feel pressured or a sense of danger from Heiress's remark and pouted, "Is that so? I'm looking forward to it." Chapter 99, She's not what you think she is. Chapter 99, She's not what you think she is. The next day, Heiress woke to the smell of something divine. Heiress went into the kitchen early in the morning and made a sumptuous breakfast. He made beef porridge with the leftover steak, onions, and a few scallion pancakes. The scallion pancakes were crisp and golden brown, with pockets of green peppering its surface. Each pancake was evenly sized and mouth-watering to look at. It was enough to whet her appetite. Heiress was similarly entranced. His hands moved to a mind of its own, snaking toward the tempting dishes. However, before reaching the scallion pancakes, Heiress wrapped his hand using his chopsticks, stopping him. He Sui turned to his sibling, puzzled. He Zhou brought a plate of scallion pancakes to He Jing and said, "What do you think? How can I improve?" He Sui was left speechless. He Jing quirked a brow, tearing off a corner of the pancake and popping it into her mouth. "It's cooked very well, third brother," He Jing said as she licked her fingers clean. "Speak truthfully," He Zhou retorted. He Zhou's rebuke prompted He Jing to elaborate. "You use too much oil, and the pancakes are slightly burnt. Sesame oil would have been better than the blend you used to cook this. Shorten the cooking time, and you'd bring out the fragrance and taste more than you already have." He Zhou immediately went back into the kitchen. He Jing was also shocked. She frowned, staring at He Zhou's retreating figure. "Won't third brother be late to class if he continues?" He Jing muttered worriedly. "You'll get used to it. Third brother is always like this," He Ning said as he turned on the old TV, completely unfazed by He Zhou's reaction. Left unsaid was his concern for how long He Jing could put up with He Zhou's fixation. A while later, He Zhou exited the kitchen with a fresh batch of scallion pancakes, which he asked He Jing to sample. He Jing took a bite and found it tasted much better than her last one. She nodded in approval and said, "Yes, it tastes much better this way." Only then did He Zhou sit down with a gloomy face and eat breakfast with them. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. A city was broadcasting the morning news. The well-dressed female host said, "Recently, fraudulent television programs have been on the rise, attracting the attention of the Central Bureau for Radio, Film, and Television. The Bureau has issued a statement, tightening supervisory guidelines, clarifying rules, and its latest crackdown measures on fakes and frauds. Among those being investigated are The Peach Blossom Dead of 10 and 10 Lives and Angel Smile. Several programs have shown signs of receiving boosted ratings, and this includes Where is the King of Singers and the Kitchen King competition. Both programs were noted for having shady dealings." He Jing was eating her porridge when she heard something interesting in the news. She looked up, and to her shock, she saw Chef Luo on television interviewed by a reporter regarding the Kitchen King competition. "The show is a complete hoax," Chef Luo cried, angered by the injustice committed against him. "My score was higher than Chef Wang's during the judging, but when the show was broadcast, the results were swapped." He Jing did not know how to react. That was what she said. "Hey, third brother, isn't the Kitchen King competition a show you're following?" He Sui exclaimed. "Aren't you a fan of Chef Wang?" No sooner had he spoken than the atmosphere at the dining table took a nosedive. He Sui shrunk into himself, like a turtle retracting its head, not knowing what he had said wrong. He Ning glanced at He Zhou and gained a vague impression of what had caused the shift in mood. "I'm no longer a fan of Chef Wang," He Zhou growled through gritted teeth. He Jing did not expect this turn of events. It was funny but also awkward. She quickly finished her porridge and packed her books, preparing for school. He Sui followed her example, not daring to remain. He Ning, He Zhou, and He Xiaoguo were left in the living room. After eating, He Xiaoguo took the dishes to the kitchen and washed them. He Zhou eyed He Ning as he slowly got to his feet. "Do you still remember what we promised Xiao Yi before she left?" "I do," He Ning said lightly. "Then why are you still dash?" How could he watch as He Jinig bullied Cheng Yi? How could he keep silent when He Jing bullied Cheng Yi to tears? He Ning met He Zhou's gaze. "Although I don't like He Jing, she's not what you think." Chapter 100, We'll leave. Chapter 100, We'll leave. He Jing and He Sui got on the bus, but He Ning did not follow them. He Sui was even more puzzled. He Ning and He Zhou were not usually very close, so why would they have anything to say to each other? Whatever. It was not his business. However, there was something that was dash. "He Jing, can you make me more food in the future? It'd probably have to be a secret between us." He Jing glanced at He Sui, who was clinging to her like a loyal dog, and teased him, "Why don't you let Cheng Yi cook for you? Xiao Yi's cooking will kill you." He Sui had spoken out of prejudice when he said He Jing's cooking would not taste good. Cheng Yi never cooked, and the one time she tried, she nearly put the whole family in a coma. It just so happened that the day she chose to cook was their mother's birthday. Each dish was a blow that forced them to question the origin of Cheng Yi's ingredients. That day, the He family looked sickly and pale, with their hands clutching their stomachs as they queued outside a small clinic for treatment. It was such a disturbing sight that passers-by thought they were on drugs and nearly reported them to the police. He Sui's request was not much. All she needed were a few more ingredients. How about this? I'll make you sweet potato fritters tonight. He Sui rubbed his hands, tearing up as he said, "Sister, you're so nice." He Jing got goosebumps from He Sui's emotional display. When they arrived at school, He Jing realized that Cheng Yi was still absent, so she deducted another 10 points from her. Although she did not want to cause trouble, it was not trouble she was causing if she was only performing her duties. Cheng Yi mustn't be feeling well, He Jing heard Shen Qiuyu say. Our teacher is sending a student representative to check on her. Who's going? Several students clamored for an answer. Humph. Shen Qiuyu snorted. It doesn't matter who goes so long as Sister Jing isn't forced to. Otherwise, I'll petition our teacher to choose someone else. Speak of the devil. Their teacher was at the door and called, He Jing, I need to speak with you for a bit. He Jing was speechless. Shen Qiuyu had jinxed her. No sooner had He Jing done as her teacher asked than she was informed of the matter and tasked with finding out how Cheng Yi was. He Jing would have to visit Cheng Yi at the Qing family residence. He Jing did not want to see Yi Shuping. She frowned and tried to decline, but her form teacher stopped her, saying, I've heard about your feud with Cheng Yi. Although Cheng Yi is in the wrong, she is still a part of the Qing family, and they have considerable influence over the school. Work hard, and the school will do its best to offer what other scholarships are available. Okay, thank you, teacher. He Jing agreed readily. How could she say no when her teacher framed things this way? After school, He Jing dragged Shen Qiuyu along since he had volunteered to stand up for her. Wu Yu was happy to join in on the fun and tagged along with a few other kind-hearted students, bearing baskets of fruits to Cheng Yi's house. The Qing family residence was locked up tight, but it was clear there were people around since the flowers and bushes had just been watered. He Jing pressed the doorbell, which was connected to a camera. Uncle Cheng, Auntie Yi, she called, we heard that Cheng Yi is unwell, so we came to see her. Tell her to get lost. A female voice screeched in the background. The Qing family's housekeeper relayed the message as politely as possible, Miss He, the young miss is unwell, and Madam is in a bad mood. Please come back some other day. The rude dismissal irked the student standing behind He Jing. Shen Qiuyu, in particular, was furious. He stomped forward and shouted, Auntie, we came to visit Cheng Yi with good intentions. It's all right if we've come at a bad time, but there shouldn't be any need to tell us to leave so rudely. No wonder Cheng Yi's character leaves so much to be desired. If this was her upbringing, I'm not surprised she's turned out the way she has. Fine. We're leaving. Chapter 101, Bitchy Behavior. Chapter 101, Bitchy Behavior. Yi Shuping was shocked. She thought He Jing was the only one who came. How could she have known she would bring a group with her? Mom, who are you talking to? Cheng Yi heard the commotion and got up from the bed. Her pale complexion made her look quite pitiful. Yi Shuping turned around, her eyelids twitching. Why are you up when you're unwell? Yi Shuping hurried to Cheng Yi's side, fussing over her. Quick, go to bed and lie down. Mom. Cheng Yi cried. I think it's your classmate, Yi Shuping said awkwardly. Cheng Yi's expression changed. She quickly walked to the smart cat's eye surveillance camera and saw Shen Qiuyu throw the fruit basket on the ground. She called out to her classmates and was about to go back. She tugged Yi Shuping's sleeve urgently. Mom, you have to stop them. What will they think of me if you don't let them in? I won't have any face to stay in Yin High School afterward. Cheng Yi's anxiety was palpable to Yi Shuping. Eventually, she relented, saying, Jing, have your classmates come in. He Jing could almost see the drastic change in Yi Shuping's expression and nearly burst into laughter. Still, she did not refuse and said to Shen Qiuyu, if you don't want to go in, you can go back first. Our teacher tasked me with this assignment. I shall see it through to report Cheng Yi's condition. Shen Qiuyu did not feel comfortable letting He Jing go in alone. Yi Shuping had looked like she wanted to eat He Jing up earlier when they greeted her through the intercom. We'll go in together, Shen Qiuyu said, grabbing He Jing's arm. The other students looked at each other. Ultimately, they could not resist the "we're already here" mentality and shuffled in after their two classmates. To make up for her mistake, Yi Shuping got one of the housekeepers to prepare snacks and drinks to welcome them. None of the refreshments were cheap. In front of He Jing and Cheng Yi's classmates, Yi Shuping knew she could not be too mean to the former. She tried asking about He Jing's well-being, but He Jing brushed her off, getting straight to the point. "Our teacher asked us to visit student Cheng Yi. Is she seriously ill?" "Thanks to you, Xiao Yi is much better now," Yi Shuping quipped sarcastically. At this moment, Cheng Yi walked out of the room. In welcoming them, Cheng Yi dressed up, doing her best to look less disheveled. Sensing that the atmosphere in the living room was not right, she glanced at Yi Shuping and said sweetly, "Mom." Only then did Yi Shuping restrain herself. She got up from her seat on the sofa and said, "Well, I shan't disturb you youngsters." Cheng Yi took the seat Yi Shuping had occupied, greeting her peers with a laugh, "Come now. There's no need to be so reserved among friends." No one moved. They shared a look, numbly glancing between He Jing and Cheng Yi. The smile on Cheng Yi's face froze, and she turned to He Jing. He Jing responded, saying, "It's getting late. We'll leave as soon as we've found out how you are." He Jing's condescension grated on Cheng Yi's nerves, but she had no choice but to endure the insult. Appearing innocent yet aggrieved, she asked, "Is something wrong? Did Mom say something to upset you?" Of course, He Jing did not mean to sound condescending, she merely wanted to complete her task and leave. She could not be bothered to play nice and put up with the lot if she did not need to. "Sister He Jing," Cheng Yi began, "you've lived with Mom for years. You know she has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. She dotes on you very much. She is just angry that you haven't returned to see her in so long, so she was a little harsher than normal. Don't be mad with her, okay?" He Jing almost guffawed in anger. What was Cheng Yi playing at this time? Was she being catty again? Although Cheng Yi had made it sound nice, she had actually pushed all the blame on her. Yi Shuping may not have treated her nicely, but if she were to argue with Cheng Yi, others would see her as an ungrateful wretch. Of course. He Jing smiled. "I'm sure Mom must have missed me since she changed the door locks, and I could not see her. Hence, today's visit allowed me to see her and you, Cheng Yi." Chapter 102, Recording. Chapter 102, Recording. As soon as He Jing revealed the truth, those students who had formed certain thoughts regarding the strange situation wore looks of disdain. Changing the door locks and then blaming He Jing for not seeing her. What kind of peerless weirdo was she? Yi Shuping had raised He Jing as if she were a daughter for over 10 years, yet now she guarded against her as if she were a thief. No wonder He Jing had to ring the doorbell before entering what was once her home. Cheng Yi choked in embarrassment. He Jing was telling the truth. Yi Shuping had changed the door locks when the truth came out that He Jing was not her daughter. Knowing nothing she said could remedy the situation and fearing that further debate would worsen things, Cheng Yi hastily changed the subject. "I'm very sorry about Man. I was in a bad mood that day and did not want to answer her call. The school has already rescinded Man's punishment, and she has also learned her lesson. She even wrote a 10,000-word reflection, which she will read aloud during the flag-raising ceremony next Monday. He Jing, can you find it in yourself to forgive Man? If not for her, then on my behalf." He Jing was not surprised by what Cheng Yi had accomplished behind the scenes. It was the only way she could save her reputation. She just had not expected her to act so quickly. Cheng Yi's sudden illness made more sense now. Cheng Yi's words swayed the students' hearts. Kind-hearted people were less likely to judge others with malice. Perhaps it had all been a misunderstanding. "How does what Zhangman did relate to you?" one of the students asked. The whole class had heard what Zhangman had said that day. Of course, they could not rule out the possibility that Zhangman had cooked up the story and wanted to drag Cheng Yi down with her if she was going to be expelled. Cheng Yi's eyelashes quivered, and her eyes turned red. "Please, believe me. How could I do such a thing?" After the incident, Man apologized, saying she should not have blamed me for her actions. She said what she did out of impulse and fear that she would be expelled from Ean High School. Here. I recorded her words for anyone who wants to hear it for themselves. He Jing glanced at Chen Qiuyu. Shen Qiuyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and had an arrogant attitude that said, "Go ahead. Let's see if you can wash away your sins." "Play it," he said. Cheng Yi took out her phone and said, "This is the recording of our conversation via WeChat." In the recording, Zhang Men apologized to Cheng Yi in all seriousness, claiming that all she said in class was nonsense. She also insinuated that her loss of control was because He Jing had misled her. The students looked at He Jing differently. That's right. That day, Zhang Men had only wanted He Jing to let her go. After He Jing's few words of provocation, the situation inexplicably changed. In that case, then, the dishonest one was not Cheng Yi, but He Jing smiled faintly. "I never expected you to be the sort to record conversations on your phone, Cheng Yi. Even if you lost a huge sum of money because of online fraud, you'll still recover in time, using the Qing family's legal team to sue the other party into bankruptcy. Now that Zhang Men has returned to school, the matter is over. Does it matter whether I forgive you or?" That's right. Why would she record a conversation on WeChat? Cheng Yi had gone so far as to have Zhang Men return to school and ask He Jing's forgiveness. So what? It was not like He Jing could have Zhang Men expelled from Yin High School just because she did not forgive her. Wasn't everything decided by Cheng Yi, the real daughter of the Qing family? Silence filled the air. Wu Yu could not stand it anymore and urged He Jing, "Sister Jing, let's go." He Jing nodded, placing the fruit basket on the coffee table. The group was about to leave when Cheng Yi coughed violently. Then, they heard the housekeeper call out anxiously, "Mississippi." Before anyone could react, Yi Shuping rushed out of the room and cried in a panic, "Xiao Yi." Chapter 103, Blackmailing. Chapter 103, Blackmailing. Cheng Yi fainted. She lay on the sofa, pale and unconscious. Only her lips were still red. Yi Shuping whipped around, glaring at He Jing as she demanded, "What did you do?" He Jing had not done anything, everyone around her could attest to it. She had not said anything untrue or gone overboard. Shen Qiuyu was enraged by Yi Shuping's accusation against He Jing. She stood by He Jing's side, glaring at Cheng Yi's mother with big, expressive eyes. "Auntie, shouldn't you call for a doctor instead of trying to blame people for Cheng Yi's condition? Is this some sort of sick trick?" Yi Shuping checked herself, realizing she had gotten her priorities mixed up. Frantically, she called for the housekeeper, saying, "Quick, quick, call the family doctor over." The housekeeper, who had been checking on Cheng Yi's condition, immediately did as she was told. Soon, a skinny young man dressed in a white coat arrived and promptly went to his patient, checking Cheng Yi's heartbeat with a stethoscope. "She's fine. She fainted because she got herself too worked up. Let her lie in bed for a bit, and she should be fine." Yi Shuping heaved a huge sigh of relief. She followed the doctor's instructions and helped the housekeeper carry Cheng Yi to her room. He Jing stood rooted to the spot and tried to figure out Cheng Yi's intentions. If the person who came today were the fake daughter, Yi Shuping, whom she regarded as her biological mother, would be saddened and upset by her mother's reaction, perhaps going so far as to say something she ought not to have. In that case, not only would Cheng Yi have salvaged the situation, but her classmates would also develop a negative opinion toward her. At the thought of this, He Jing felt inexplicably amused. Fortunately, she was not the original He Jing but an imposter that had transmigrated into this body. She had no feelings for Yi Shuping at all. No matter what the latter said, it would not affect or cause her to lash out. Cheng Yi's plan was doomed to fail from the start. Not wanting to stay for even a second longer, He Jing said to Shen Qiuyu, "Let's go." Shen Qiuyu raged. "She's been a mother to you for more than 10 years. How could she treat you like this?" He Jing offered her a wan smile. "It's human nature to feel for what is theirs. I'm not her biological daughter, so I don't count for much in her eyes. There's nothing wrong with that. Still, wasn't Yi Shuping too heartless? I finally understand why I never liked you in the past, Sister Jing. It seems a change in family circumstances, and education can do a lot. You're not the same person you once were," Shen Qiuyu said. Wu Yu agreed, nodding frantically, "I like the current Sister Jing. The previous Sister Jing was too cold." When Yi Shuping came out of Cheng Yi's room, He Jing greeted her, "Since Cheng Yi is fine, we'll take our leave. Please excuse us." "Wait," Yi Shuping said. She eyed those standing behind He Jing warily, and her expression changed. I misspoke earlier. I shouldn't have taken that tone with you. Jingjing, why don't you stay here? I have something I'd like to discuss with you. He Jing's curiosity spiked. Yi Shuping was still posturing aggressively, but at least her general attitude had slightly mellowed. It seemed Cheng Yi had said something to her just now. He Jing was very curious to know what she had to say. However, Shen Qiuyu spoke up on her behalf and rejected Yi Shuping's invitation without a second thought. If you have something to say, then say it. Don't even think about bullying Sister Jing while we're not around to support her. These repeated humiliations at Shen Qiuyu's hands had left Yi Shuping in a foul mood. Uncaring about her status or how she might be perceived, she reprimanded Shen Qiuyu. Student Shen, I'm currently speaking to my goddaughter. Is it your place to interrupt a private conversation? Is this how your elders have taught you to behave? No matter how arrogant Shen Qiuyu was, she was still a young girl. Yi Shuping's verbal lashing caused her eyes to mist with unshed tears. He Jing gripped Shen Qiuyu's shoulder comfortingly even as she turned her icy gaze upon Yi Shuping. If you have anything to say, just say it. Only you have claimed me as your good daughter, but nowhere have I said I agree to you being my godmother. I don't wish to remain here any longer. Chapter 104, Chapter 104, I deserve it. Chapter 104, I deserve it. All right, don't blame me for embarrassing you in front of so many people. Yi Shuping said. He Jing remained silent. She quirked a brow, waiting to see what Yi Shuping had to say. Yi Shuping took a deep breath, saying hatefully, He Jing, stay away from young Master Yan. You're no longer the daughter of the Qing family, Xiao Yi is, and she will fulfill the betrothal agreement in your place. Don't try to reach for things beyond your means and status, and give the opportunity to shoot a promotional MV to those who actually deserve it. He Jing now knew Yi Shuping's intentions. It turned out that Cheng Yi coveted her opportunity, hoping to shoot a promotional MV with Yan Hanqi. I'm sorry, I can't give up this opportunity just because you want me to. As for who deserves it He Jing's cherry-colored lips curled into a smirk as she confidently said, I deserve it. I'm the school belle, after all. He Jing did not wait for a response as she spun on her heel, Shen Qiuyu and the rest of her classmates trailing after her. Yi Shuping stomped her feet in frustration, returning to Cheng Yi's room. Mom, how was it? Cheng Yi asked through misty eyes. Xiao Yi, you should focus on your health before anything else. Such an evasive answer implied she had failed. Cheng Yi was a little disappointed, but she was not too discouraged. It seemed she had to figure out how to deal with He Jing herself. Everyone else was unreliable. Cheng Yi spent 2 days recuperating. In those 2 days, she could not get her mind off school. When she finally returned, no one in school isolated her. Instead, a new emotion seemed to have taken root in their eyes. The first thing Shen Qiuyu did when she got to school the next day was announce what had happened at the Qing family residence. She described Yi Shuping's intense dislike of He Jing, including the supposed marriage between Yan Hanqi and the young miss of the Qing family. It was a stunning revelation to the whole student body. Could the bond between mother and daughter vanish just because they were unrelated by blood? How long had it been? No wonder there was so much bad blood between He Jing and the Qing family. Cheng Yi's status in the Qing family was as real as it could be, and not even He Jing could compare to her with all of them dancing in the palm of the Qing family's hands. He Jing buried her head in her homework and did not notice the sympathetic look sent her way by her classmates. A certain big shot, however, seemed completely unfazed by the situation and continued to stick close to He Jing, enraptured by her beauty. Miss Merit student, you should take a break. Yan Hanqi teased, plucking He Jing's pen out of her hand. I'm not tired, He Jing replied, sparing Yan Hanqi a cool look. Yan Hanqi smiled. I'm tired. Wait for me. No, He Jing answered expressionlessly. Yan Hanqi felt there was something off about He Jing's mood. Now that he had heard her speak, this feeling became a certainty. He leaned closer to her with narrowed eyes and said, I don't remember doing anything to offend you. Are you angry at me because of what someone else said? He Jing paused, momentarily speechless. Unhappily, she sniffed, which eye of yours tells you I'm angry? I never said you were angry, I just said you looked angry. Semantics. Yan Hanshi chuckled, his fingers brushing away the loose strands that had become untucked by the wind. Do you know what you look like now? You look like a pufferfish with those bloated cheeks of yours. You're just short of wearing a billboard saying you're annoyed. He Jing did not believe a word he said. She would never reveal her emotions in public. How could she have turned into a pufferfish? Rummaging in her desk's drawer, she fished out her compact mirror to check herself. She still looked the same as usual. Yan Hanshi could not suppress his bark of laughter, barely doing anything to silence it. He Jing glared at him angrily. Yan Hanshi had never thought anyone could look so cute being angry. He Jing was one of a kind. Clearing his throat, a half-smile tugging at his lips, he began, I've heard some rumors floating about in class. Nothing is going on between Cheng Yi and me. We're classmates, that's it. It's not something that will change now or in the future. Chapter 105, Chapter 105, Banned Couple. Chapter 105, Banned Couple. Those clear words jumped into Yi Jing's ears word by word, leaving her stunned for a long time. Why did he make such a statement? What was he explaining to her? But Yi Jing's mood had improved a little, not because she liked Yan Hanshi or anything, but because it was rare for someone to be free from Cheng Yi's charms. It would be a pity if he fell for Cheng Yi's skirt. As for you, Miss Merit student, Yan Hanshi smiled at her. How about starring in that promotional music video with me? Yi Jing frowned. Isn't there a screenwriter in charge of the script and cast of the promotional MV? I've seen the script. There are scenes involving hugging, kissing, and holding hands. Yan Hanshi's eyes twinkled with barely concealed delight, a flirtatious air about him. The screenwriter is also a student. They're probably shipping us together. The male lead and the female supporting character could have CP fans. What kind of evil cult was this school? Our CP fans call us the banned couple, Yan Hanshi added. Yi Jing's mind was in a mess, the corners of her mouth twitching uncontrollably. In your dreams. Afraid that Yan Hanshi was telling the truth, Yi Jing fled. Her goal. The screenwriter who dared come up with such an outrageous script. Not until she was out of the classroom that she stopped and questioned if she was being tricked by Yan Hanshi again. Terrible. He was just plain awful. The screenwriter was originally very satisfied with the script she had just finished writing. When she saw Yi Jing's expression, she thought Yi Jing was dissatisfied with her script. There was not anything wrong with it, was there? It was well planned, reflecting the values of Yin High School. She had not even played up on the intimacy between the school belle and resident hunk. No, no. After some deliberation, she gritted her teeth, cut down the screen time allocated to the school, and added a few more scenes where the school belle and hunk interacted. Initially, everyone thought that Zhang Man's return to the school would end the matter of voter fraud and framing. However, they never expected the school to take further disciplinary actions against Zhang Man. Although Zhang Man had not been expelled, she had to start again from her first year of high school. Moreover, she would have to repeat the year if she failed even one subject. It was a punishment she would carry with her for all 3 years at Yin High School. Yi Jing's eyes darted to Yan Hanshi immediately upon hearing the news. As usual, Yan Hanshi was dozing in his seat. Yan Hanshi buried his face in a book, using it as a makeshift blanket, tucking his nose and chin beneath its soft pages. Only his eyebrows were visible over the rim. It framed his face, casting an irregular fan-shaped shadow over most of his face. Did you have anything to do with Zhang Man's punishment? Yi Jing asked. Yan Hanshi remained motionless in this position. How could so? It was a decision made by the school after careful consideration of the circumstances. Yi Jing believed him. Yan Hanshi had no enmity with Zhang Man, so he had no reason to make things difficult for her. You promised to treat me to a meal. When are you going to honor it? Yan Hanshi asked. Oh dash. She would have forgotten about her promise had Yan Hanshi not reminded her. I'll bring it to school tomorrow, Yi Jing said. You can cook. Yan Hanshi raised an eyebrow. Yan Hanshi's reaction was the same as he sways. It was almost insulting. Why? Do you think I can't cook? Yi Jing demanded a little unhappily. No, Yan Hanshi smirked, his expression turning meaningful. I was just too stupid not to see your strengths. My bad. Otherwise, he would have eaten that meal. It's pointless to regret the past. I never knew how to cook before, I only learned how to cook recently, He-jing replied. Yan Hanshi was struck speechless. What was he supposed to do in this situation? This was not part of the script. At this point, He-jing had a bad taste in her mouth and decided to return the favor by mercilessly teasing, "Let me warn you, my cooking is so good that it poisoned a few rats to death when they ingested it." Chapter 106, Chapter 106, You're Ruthless. Chapter 106, You're Ruthless. Yan Hanshi was initially skeptical, but after hearing her words, he chuckled, amused. I'll have a good taste, then. His teasing had failed to hit the mark. He-jing pursed her lips in boredom. It was boring. She did not know that Cheng-yi had exploded in a fit while she was racking her brains to figure out how to prepare something that would meet Boss Yan's standards. Receiving a slew of phone calls from Zhang Men, Cheng-yi had no choice but to answer or show that she was deliberately avoiding the former. As soon as the call connected, Zhang Men roared, "What's going on? Didn't you say everything would be fine once you returned to school?" "I didn't expect Brother Shi to interfere," Cheng-yi replied weakly. Even she was helpless. "I'm in this state because of you. I don't care what you do, but there must be another way." Cheng-yi gritted her teeth. She had already shamelessly begged Yi Shuping to help her once, so she could not ask for a second boon so soon. Hardening her heart, her icy words were like knives twisting in an open wound. "Stop fooling around. What else can I do? Are you going to watch as I repeat high school with the juniors a year lower than us? I'll become the joke of the school." Zhang Men snarled. "No matter how inferior my family's background is compared to yours, I still have a reputation to maintain. I've already written a reflection and an apology, just as you made me do. I did it because you promised everything would be fine. Is this what you call fine?" Cheng-yi was speechless. She had indeed promised Zhang Men that she would deal with the issue. However, the situation had developed beyond her control, far exceeding her expectations or ability to influence. "If you don't help me settle this matter, I'll tell everyone you forced me to write that reflection and produce that recording. Don't think for a second that you'd be able to stay in high school afterward." Now that their relationship had devolved to this extent, friendship was worth less than a farthing. All Zhang Men cared about was safeguarding her interests. When Cheng-yi heard this, she sneered. "Since you're threatening me, I'll take it you no longer value our friendship. In which case, say whatever you want. Let's see who the school populace believes." Only then did Zhang Men finally see the truth. She had been used. Cheng-yi dared to say something so bold as dissolving their friendship because she did not want to leave any evidence behind. No wonder she suddenly changed her phone number, making it difficult to contact her. Even her WeChat account was brand new. Cheng-yi had already prepared to sever all ties with her. "Ha! You win this time. Cheng-yi, you better pray I don't catch your slithering, slimy tail one day." Cheng-yi hung up the phone, seething. Once bitten, twice shy. That was Zhang Men in a nutshell. She was naturally cautious and never allowed anyone to take advantage of her more than once. It seemed she would have to think of a way to get rid of Zhang Men, perhaps, having her drop out of school so that she would not become a nuisance. Several twists and turns occurred in the intervening period, but in the end, Zhang Men voluntarily withdrew from high school. The Zhang family was considered a fairly wealthy one in a city. They could not afford to have their daughter become a laughingstock in the circles they walked in, so they sent Zhang Men out of the country. All this happened in the span of a night. He-jing bought a big bag of ingredients from the supermarket that night. Some were for the fancy dishes she had promised Yan Hanshi, while the others were for the sweet potato balls she had promised He-sui. He-sui had been looking forward to them ever since school ended for the day. When he saw He-jing enter the kitchen with bags laden with groceries, he followed her, afraid he would miss out on more of He-jing's delicious cooking. "If there's anything you need my help with, just say the word," He-sui said eagerly. He-ning was heading for his room when he noticed He-jing in the kitchen preparing food and immediately made an about-turn, sitting on the sofa instead. He-zhou leaned against the kitchen door and peered at the duo inside. He-xiaoguo was the only one left in the dark. He tilted his head, blinking his large, curious eyes up at He-jing, and asked, "Sister Jing, are you cooking again? Are you as bad at cooking as Sister Xiao-yi?" Xiaoguo was the sole member of the family who had never tasted He Jing's cooking and still had no idea how skilled He Jing was. He Sui could not bear to keep up the pretense and crowed, "Sister Jing's food is delicious." He did so while peeling sweet potatoes and yam according to He Jing's instructions. No sooner had he spoken than he felt a chill run down his spine. He peered at He Zhou, realizing his brother's gloomy expression, which seemed to grow uglier by the second. Not wanting to cause a row among siblings, he quickly amended, "It's not that delicious. It's only a little better than third brother's cooking." Chapter 107, Chapter 107, This is Courtesy. Chapter 107, This is Courtesy. He Zhou's expression turned even worse. He Jing intervened before He Zhou collapsed from anger. "Fourth brother, please help me peel the skin off these melons." He Sui happily threw himself into the task he was assigned. Squatting by the kitchen door, He Xiaoguo chirped expectantly, "I can't wait to try Sister Jing's cooking." He Jing had bought so much for this exact reason. She would whip up a feast to fill them. While He Sui busied himself peeling the skin off a sweet potato, He Jing gathered those he had already peeled, steaming the sweet potatoes and yam separately. The sweet potatoes and yam would need to be steamed for about half an hour. In the meantime, she would prepare the pork, marinating it with salt before giving it an egg wash and lathering it in cornstarch. Afterward, she fried the pork in a shallow pan until crisp. For the homemade milk tea she had in mind, she brewed a pot of tea, steeping the high-quality Ceylon tea leaves in hot water for 2 to 3 minutes. Then she poured milk into the mix and filtered the drink through a colander into a jug with wild fruits and red beans. It took less than an hour for her to finish prepping the veritable feast, including a beef Wellington, French vegetable jellies, and a seafood stew for Yan Hanxi. He Xiaoguo was a diligent shadow, peering through the kitchen door for the past hour as she cooked. Surprisingly, he had not gotten bored. Instead, he sighed, mumbling, "Sister Jing is awesome." He Zhou had watched for a while, his expression a frigid mask, and left when he had seen enough. He did not even consider tasting He Jing's cooking. More importantly, he needed to note down all the steps He Jing had taken in prepping the food. He closed his eyes and tried to recall everything he had seen in detail. His intense concentration was only broken when He Jing knocked on the door, calling, "Third brother." He Zhou snapped his notebook shut and answered, "Come in." He Jing entered with her French vegetable jelly, the most complicated dish he had seen her make. The crystalline jelly complemented He Jing's bright smile as she said, "Third brother, I only made 2 portions of the jelly. I'll give you one to try." He Zhou felt his eyes drawn to the crystal-like French vegetable jelly. With narrowed eyes, he asked, "If you only made enough for 2, why do you want me to have one to try?" "That's because I was the first to taste the scallion pancakes you made, third brother. It is only polite that I reciprocate. If fourth brother and the rest had not objected so vehemently, I would have let you have the first pick of all the food I made," He Jing said. "Fair enough." He Zhou silently picked up the vegetable jelly, examining it. "A proper French vegetable jelly calls for far more ingredients than those I used," He Jing began. "I did not think we needed so many, so I adapted the recipe and simplified it. The main ingredients are carrots, corn, cucumbers, zucchini, and purple cabbage. I added them in the order I just said. It's best to let the jelly sit in the fridge for at least 6 hours to preserve the color and taste. Unfortunately, I had no time to let it sit in the refrigerator. The taste might be lacking, but it shouldn't be by too much." He Zhou took a bite, and the aroma of fresh vegetables spread across the tip of his tongue. He hated eating carrots, but at this moment, he felt nothing could compare to the sweetness of the carrots melting in his mouth. The flavor of each vegetable unfolded one at a time, like the petals of a delicate rose, empowering and reinforcing each one that came before. It was sour, sweet, salty. Despite all the flavors melding together, the jelly was surprisingly light. It was perfection in a bite. "How is it?" He Jing asked. He Zhou did not want to speak well of He Jing's cooking, but he could not fight his conscience. In the end, he said, "It's all right." He Jing smiled. "Then I'll make another one tomorrow." He Zhou's lips trembled. He wanted to say something, but no words were forthcoming. He Jing cleared the empty plate and excused herself. No sooner had she exited He Zhou's room than she saw He Sui and He Xiaoguo arguing over the last piece of crispy pork. "Fourth brother is shameless. I won the rock-paper-scissors competition. Best of 5. Fourth brother just said the best of 3. While the two of them argued, they didn't realize that He Ning had already picked up the crispy meat expressionlessly. Chapter 108, Chapter 108, Don't be tricked by her. Chapter 108, Don't be tricked by her. The next day, He Jing brought the food she had made to school. Yan Hanshi had not arrived yet, but Wu Yu was early, so he was around to greet her when she arrived. He stared curiously at He Jing's pink lunch box and asked surprisedly, "Sister Jing, did you bring lunch today?" "Who made it?" "I made it myself," He Jing said, taking her seat. As if he had seen a ghost, Wu Yu opened his mouth, mumbling in disbelief. "Sister Jing, when did you learn how to cook?" Wu Yu's shocked expression immediately attracted the attention of the rest of the class. "Sister Jing, I didn't know you could cook." Shen Qiuyu was startled by this revelation. "Is cooking really that difficult?" He Jing laughed. Shen Qiuyu nodded and said, "In high school used to offer cooking classes. However, as no one could cook, and everything the students prepared caused the cooking teacher to become sick, the school had no choice but to stop offering the elective. It was so bad that In High School lost all its cooking teachers. Who could have known In High School would bear such a past? What kind of magical place was In High School supposed to be?" Wu Yu had never seen He Jing cook before. In a previous cooking class, He Jing had instructed them on how to cook and prepare ingredients, tasking them to work in small groups of no more than 3. He Jing bringing food with her today was nothing short of a miracle. "Sister Jing, may I open the lunchbox and see what's inside?" Wu Yu was the only one intrigued. Shen Qiuyu and the rest of the class were also interested in its contents. A sea of curious eyes shined with barely restrained curiosity. That is until a certain young man with an exceptionally noble bearing entered the class and made his presence known. That young man strolled into class, a mix of confidence and feline grace in his lazy gait. He Jing stuffed the lunchbox into the young man's hand. "Here, this is for you." Instantly, everyone's eyes shifted from He Jing to Yan Hanshi. Yan Hanshi looked at the cheap plastic lunchbox in his hand, which had a cute Hello Kitty on it, and said, "Did you make it?" "Of course I did, I never go back on my word," He Jing replied. Yan Hanshi opened the lunchbox and saw that the first layer was the overly beautiful French vegetable jelly, its colors scintillating in the light of the crowd's shocked gazes. He Jing's cooking skills could not have been too bad since she dared to cook for him. However, she had far exceeded his expectations. This was not just good. It was amazing. As the heir of the Yan family, he had eaten countless delicacies. Naturally, he could tell the value of this French jelly at a glance. Based on its alluring appearance, it would cost at least 80,000 yuan at a high-class hotel. Sitting in her seat, Cheng Yi observed the commotion from afar, her mocking expression freezing on her face. How could this be? The Qing family clearly said He Jing did not know how to cook. The only time He Jing had cooked was when she cooked noodles for Cheng Yu. The noodles were overcooked and tasted like He Jing had dropped a jar of salt in it. Cheng Yu only took a bite before asking someone to throw the rest out without He Jing knowing. How could He Jing make such a fancy French jelly? The others were also stunned. This French jelly looked mouth-watering. It was wrapped in a 5-colored hue and wobbled cheerfully when poked. Unconsciously, they gulped. Wu Yu, who was the closest to them, gulped the loudest. Yan Hanshi glanced at him and asked, "Want some?" Wu Yu nodded but then quickly shook his head. Yan Hanshi smirked arrogantly. Even if he wanted some, he could not have any. Wu Yu eyed He Jing with dewy eyes. A discordant note cleaved the jealous air in two. It came from Cheng Yi's new sister, Zhou Shuer. He Jing can't cook at all. Brother Shi, don't be fooled by her. Chapter 109, Chapter 109, Willing to be Deceived. Chapter 109, Willing to be Deceived. A pebble is enough to stir up 1,000 ripples. Almost in unison, the entire class looked at Zhou Shuer. In his small notebook, Shen Qiuyu had just jotted down another good point about He Jing. When he heard Zhou Shuer's words, his eyebrows shot to his hairline in outrage. What right do you have to say something like that? Zhou Shuer choked on her words. A discreet glance toward Cheng Yi was enough to bolster her flagging confidence. Of course, I have proof. Xiao Yi, you tell them. Cheng Yi rose from her seat, speaking gently and with a touch of innocence, "Although I don't wish to embarrass He Jing or dampen everyone's enthusiasm, I can't stand by and watch student Yen be deceived. He Jing doesn't know how to cook. Everyone in the Qing family knows this." As she spoke, she shot He Jing an accusing look, her tone almost sounding like the whines of a young child. "I never thought He Jing would stoop so low as to lie to student Yen to curry favor with him." He Jing was speechless. All she did was bring some food to Yan Hanshi. How did she become the villain? Indeed, transmigrating into the body of a vicious supporting actress had its risks and rewards. He Jing did not immediately refute Qing Yi's words. Instead, she glanced at Yan Hanshi and asked, "If I didn't make this myself, would you still eat it? If you'd rather not, I'd like you to return it to me." Yan Hanshi smiled indulgently. "Of course, I'd eat it. I'd eat it whether you lied to me or not." "Student Yen." Cheng Yi cried in disbelief. Yan Hanshi took a bite out of the French jelly. Its smooth, nicely chilled surface was so refreshing he felt like he had been doused in cold water. Having been refrigerated overnight, the French jelly was sublime. Each vegetable had a distinct taste that melded well, completing one another. It was so amazing he thought he had been transported on a vacation to the countryside at the height of summer. At this moment, many things came to Yan Hanshi's mind. The most profound was this curious desire to drop out of school and become a vegetable farmer in the countryside if only it would let him eat such delicious food every day. With his eyes closed, lost in the ecstasy of He Jing's sophisticated dessert, Yan Hanshi caused those around him to forget their words. All that was left in their minds was this overpowering desire to taste He Jing's French vegetable jelly. Woo! You gulped again. None of those present could take their eyes off Yan Hanshi until every last bite of the French jelly He Jing had made disappeared down his throat. Yan Hanshi had remained motionless throughout. He Jing's fantastic jelly had conquered his stomach and marched on the fortress of his mind, tearing its walls asunder and rebuilding it anew. Then, Yan Hanshi looked at Cheng Yi and smiled elegantly. "Student Cheng Yi, it doesn't matter if student He Jing does not know how to cook. What's important is her kind intentions. Even if she had lied, nothing would give me the greatest honor than to be lied to again." Cheng Yi paled, losing all color on her face. Yan Hanshi dragged an anxious finger around the rim of the empty lunchbox and put it into his mouth. He almost looked forlorn. "It's a pity you haven't had the opportunity to try such a delicate French jelly. Yet, I can't help but succumb to this selfish impulse to want more of something I enjoy so much. Perhaps it would serve you better to hone your cooking skills, student Cheng Yi, than disparaging others for their lack thereof. Maybe you might gain some clarity then." Puff dash. He Jing could tell that Yan Hanshi was calling Cheng Yi stupid. As expected of the male lead. Even the way he admonished others was a cut above the rest. Soon, the whole class wore mocking expressions from one degree to another. Who was Cheng Yi to Yan Hanshi? She was nothing more than a classmate. Yan Hanshi had already rejected her, so what right did she have to meddle in his affairs, fearing he would be deceived or cheated? Cheng Yi's jealousy was palpable. Knowing Cheng Yi had lost, Zhou Shuer could not help but curse in her heart. Useless. Despite her inner thoughts, however, Zhou Shuer said, "If you can't cook, you can't cook. It is wrong to lie." Student He Jing did what she did to satisfy her vanity. There's no doubt that her character is severely lacking. Chapter 110, Magical. Chapter 110, Magical. He Jing was bemused. Which god had she offended? As if understanding her confusion, Shen Chuyu leaned toward her, whispering, "Zhou Shuer used to be your partner in the cooking class. The teacher chastised her for failing to cooperate with you in completing her homework." He Jing carefully searched her memories and vaguely remembered such an incident occurring. The fake heiress and Zhou Shuer had drawn lots and ended up together. As the fake heiress had no idea how to cook, she stood to one side and chattered away without lifting a finger to help. Things came to a head during a lesson focused on cake making. In the end, Zhou Shuer was severely chastised for not doing her part, while the fake heiress used her influence as the young miss of the Qing family to avoid blame. Now that she thought about it, hadn't the incident occurred a year ago? Why would it blow up now? He Jing smiled. "Oh. Do you expect me to apologize to you? You should apologize to the whole class." Zhou Shuer was taken aback. "All right. He Jing said lightly, I'm sorry, everyone, I shouldn't have been vain. The whole class was speechless. They did not want an apology. What they wanted was the tasty lie she had concocted. Wu Yu burst into laughter. Ah. I can't take it anymore. Ha ha. This is the first time I've heard someone who cooks for another must apologize to a completely unrelated party. Sister Jing, lie as much as you'd like to me. I don't mind, I wouldn't even call you vain. Zhou Shuer's expression turned ugly. Zhou Shuer, are you satisfied now? He Jing's red lips curved slightly. Zhou Shuer gritted her teeth. He Jing nodded. That's good. I don't want to create any misunderstandings. Zhou Shuer's mouth snapped shut, and she returned to her seat with her tail between her legs. Wu Yu immediately posted this matter on the school forum. In the meantime, he said, I bet this topic will hit the top 10 miraculous events in Yin High School by the new year. As expected, the post attracted the attention and discussion of the entire school. A series of question marks flooded the comments section. Shen Chuyu rolled his eyes. That's enough. You don't have to go crazy too. Zhou Shuer is shameless, but Sister Jing takes the cake. It was with a heavy heart that Wu Yu stopped. Instead, he turned his attention to the Hello Kitty lunchbox, saying, Brother Shi, let's see what else is inside. There must be something more in the next layer. Yan Hanshi put the lunchbox into his bag and said, I want to enjoy this surprise alone. No one noticed the unwillingness in Cheng Yi's beautiful eyes. So what? He Jing had not done anything impressive. Hadn't she bought her way to a favorable impression? Two could play at that game. After school, Cheng Yi was the first out of the door. Before Yan Hanshi could disappear, He Jing tugged his arm and asked, Are you free? Yan Hanshi quirked a brow, but his heart was filled with excitement. Of course. I need your help picking out a few gifts, He Jing said. I plan on giving it to someone. He Ning's birthday was the day after tomorrow. The fifth and sixth brothers of the He family would also return. She wanted to prepare 3 gifts, one for He Ning, one for her fifth brother, He Yi, and one for her sixth brother, He Chen. First impressions were everything. She did not want her fifth and sixth brothers to be like He Sui and He Zhou, hostile toward her when they met. She did not want to start things off on the wrong foot. He Jing had thought of asking Wu Yu, but Wu Yu's dress sense was not what she would call appealing, so she had no choice but to ask Yan Hanshi for help. The day was still young, so they went to Xinhua Street together. Chapter 111, Less Elfies. Chapter 111, Less Elfies. Xinhua Street was not far from First High School. It was right across the alley where Yan Hanshi had fought. The things sold there were not expensive, attracting crowds and creating a lively atmosphere. As many schools were nearby, Xinhua Street was routinely swamped by a sea of students in school uniforms. The appearance of He Jing and Yan Hanshi caused quite a commotion. Many people began digging for information on the handsome couple, turning to WeChat for answers. Under the powerful halo of the male protagonist, He Jing, a supporting actress who was nothing more than cannon fodder, became the center of attention and receptacle of envy for love-struck girls ogling Yan Hanshi. He Jing immediately bought a mask for Yan Hanshi to wear. The situation improved once Yan Hanshi was forced into a disguise. At least the road had freed up with no sign of continuing congestion. Yan Hanshi's eyes were full of smiles as he teased, Oh. Do you want to keep me all to yourself? He Jing did not so much as twitch. Get over yourself. If we're stopped every 2 steps, how will we finish picking out gifts before dark? Despite He Jing's words, Yan Hanshi found himself quite pleased. Half an hour later, He Jing had 2 small items in her hand, a cartoon character keychain and an exquisite wooden bookmark. In the original novel, the fifth brother, He Yi, and the sixth brother, He Chen, did not have many scenes. They only made an appearance when the real heiress had a use for them. The novel did not mention their preferences, so He Jing had to rely solely on her intuition. He Jing had not purchased them without reason. He Yi's goal was to enter the animation industry. Indeed, He Yi succeeded, or so the original novel claimed. He became the most influential animator of the current generation, winning multiple domestic and foreign awards. Meanwhile, He Chen was set to become a prolific writer, a genius whose works were enjoyed nationwide. His royalties alone would exceed 100 million yuan. He would later produce his masterpiece, a fantasy genre title that would turn him into one of the world's richest people. The two trinkets should be to their liking. He Jing stowed them in her bag and said, I'm also thinking of buying a fountain pen. Do you know of any good ones nearby? What's your budget? Yan Hanqi asked. No more than 10,000 yuan, He Jing replied. It's best if it's crafted well and durable. This way, then. Yan Hanqi smiled, leading the way. Yan Hanqi led He Jing down another street. This street was completely different from Xinhua Street. Few cars passed by, and its surroundings were peaceful. High-rise buildings stood like pencils amid perfectly manicured greenery. They passed through a diamond-studded revolving glass door, entering a high-end shopping mall where Yan Hanqi directed her to a branded pen shop. Les Elfies. There, he received a warm welcome. Behind several glimmering display cases, a lady greeted them, seemingly flattered by their presence, bowing at exactly 90 degrees. Young Master Yan, how may I help you today? Show me the pens priced between 5,000 and 10,000, Yan Hanqi said lightly. The lady behind the counter glanced at He Jing and immediately understood. She smiled at He Jing and said, Miss, please follow me this way. He Jing followed the lady to a transparent display cabinet in the corner and heard her say, These fountain pens are those priced under 10,000 yuan. We don't have very many of them here at Lu Elfies. Please have a look. If there aren't any that catch your eye, I'll have someone pick up what others we have in our inventory from the other branches. He Jing peered through the display case, smiling faintly. No, that's all right, this one is good. He Jing pointed at a black, gold-plated fountain pen. It was sleek with smooth lines and luxurious in a minimalist capacity. It was the first to catch her eye. The lady took a closer look at the fountain pen He Jing had singled out and offered her sincere praise. Miss, you have excellent taste. It is the best we have under 10,000 yuan. Oil tycoon Louis also favors this pen. He Jing nodded, slipping on the white glove she was presented before picking up the pen to examine it. Yan Hanqi arrived by her side and asked, How is it? Do you like it? Second brother will like it, He Jing confirmed. Chapter 112, Chapter 112, I have a gold card. Chapter 112, I have a gold card. After choosing this pen, He Jing looked at the price. It was a little over 10,000 yuan. She was not in a hurry to pay the bill. She looked up and asked the lady if there was a discount. The lady smiled at Yan Hanqi and said, Miss, if you really want it, we can give you a 20% discount. He Jing glanced at Yan Hanqi and said, Forget it, wrap it up for me. At this moment, a soft and weak female voice sounded from the side. Hang on. I want this pen. He Jing, who had been interrupted, turned around and saw that it was Cheng Yi. Zhou Shuer was standing beside her. Zhou Shuer stared at He Jing with an extremely smug gaze as if she was looking forward to seeing how things would develop. Zhou Shuer had been shopping to her heart's content to rid herself of her foul mood. She did not expect to bump into He Jing in the luxury stationery shop and immediately called Cheng Yi. Cheng Yi was trying dishes at a high-class hotel nearby to find something better than Han Jing's French jelly to win over Yan Hanqi. When she heard the news from Zhou Shuer, she rushed over, her face flushed from exertion. He Jing frowned, unhappy with Zhou Shuer's antagonizing actions. Even now, Zhou Shuer behaved like a horrid ghost, haunting her at every opportunity and refusing to move on. Logically, He Jing understood that the supporting actress and the female protagonist were enemies, but that did not mean they had to bother her 24/7. Shouldn't NPCs take a break while the game updates? Yan Hanqi was already annoyed, so the introduction of these two interlopers pushed him over the edge. Eyeing them coldly, he demanded, Have you been following us? Cheng Yi stepped forward and explained gently, Student Yan, this is a misunderstanding. We just happened to bump into each other. Shuer and I were shopping in the area and saw you, so we came to say hello. He Jing found it funny. Meeting up like this might have been a coincidence, but what about trying to buy the pen I want? Cheng Yi's eyes darted from Yan Hanqi to He Jing and back again. Casually, she answered, I didn't mean to butt in on your purchase, He Jing. The pen was just too mesmerizing. I can't help but find myself feeling like I must have it. You are buying it as a birthday present for second brother, aren't you? This doesn't seem to be any business of yours, He Jing replied tartly. Cheng Yi stifled her laugh and smiled politely. If the fountain pen isn't very important to you, He Jing, why don't you let me have it? It is special to me. What if I say no? He Jing asked in clipped tones. Cheng Yi whipped a gold card from her wallet and handed it to the lady overseeing the purchase. Hello, I ordered a fountain pen from you before, but I'd like to change it. Cheng Yi turned to He Jing as she spoke, appearing bashful and embarrassed. I'm sorry, He Jing. It's really beautiful. Second brother will like it. When the lady saw the gold card, she remembered that Cheng Yi had ordered a pen worth more than 300,000 yuan 3 days ago. It was a custom-made pen engraved with initials on the cap. The pen she had ordered was ready and was supposed to be delivered tomorrow. Esteemed guest, this young miss has already said she wants to buy this fountain pen. Cheng Yi tilted her head, feigning confused innocence. Has she paid for the pen? If not, a customer with a gold car has priority in such matters, don't they? The lady serving them was speechless. The priority privilege was meant for the exchange of more expensive goods, not for those below a certain price. Even if the items she liked were cheaper, they would have to exchange enough for them to be of equivalent value. This was the pride of a luxury brand. However, being a professional, she squashed her urge to rail against the customer and said, "Honored guest, please wait a moment. Let me see what I can do." At this moment, Yan Hanqi sneered, interjecting with an air of lazy arrogance, "So you have a gold card." "Me too. What shall we do now?" Chapter 113, Competition. Chapter 113, Competition. He Jing had not planned to buy it at first. After all, the pen exceeded her budget. Hearing Yan Hanqi's words, she quickly said, "No, I don't want it anymore." Yan Hanqi turned around and smiled. "What should I do? I, Yan Hanqi, have never lost to anyone in terms of privilege. Do you want me to leave with my tail between my legs?" He Jing met his eyes, and after a long while, she squeezed out through gritted teeth, "Fine. Do whatever you want." Cheng Yi's expression changed. She chewed on her lower lip, feigning a pitiful countenance. "Student Yan, Student He Jing has already said she doesn't want it. Won't you let me have it instead?" Yan Hanqi's indifferent gaze landed on Cheng Yi as he said, "No, I can't." Cheng Yi felt wronged. She blinked, dewy tears clinging to her fluttering eyelashes. "Why? Could you and He Jing have that kind of relationship?" Yan Hanqi smiled gallantly. "That's not it. I just find this fountain pen unique, and I like it." Cheng Yi cocked her head in confusion. "I like taking things from others." How could Cheng Yi not realize Yan Hanqi was mocking her? Her face turned an unhealthy green before paling considerably. He Jing nearly burst into laughter. Thankfully, she had enough presence of mind to stifle it behind a small upturning of her lips. "It seems so." "Of course, Yan Hanqi said. "Have you found the gold card yet?" Yan Hanqi harried the poor lady. The lady rummaged through Yan Hanqi's wallet, sweating profusely. Eventually, she found the gold card, signifying an esteemed customer of less Elfies under a mountain of others. "Why yes, I've found it." Zhou Shuer sensed things were about to turn for the worse and quickly added her penny's worth. "Both Cheng Yi and Yan Hanqi are gold card holders, they share an equal status. You can't be biased." The lady shot Zhou Shuer a disdainful look, one she quickly masked behind a thin veneer of respect. "Of course not. The company is committed to protecting our honored guests' rights and interests. We pride ourselves on providing nothing but the best shopping experience. Any conflict between parties regarding the sale of goods will always be handled fairly. That is. How about this? Let's see who understands the true essence of Les Elfies as a brand," He Jing proposed calmly. "The young miss makes an excellent suggestion. Why is it so complicated to buy a pen?" Zhou Shuer shrieked. "Are you trying to take advantage of your customers?" Even someone as cold as Yan Hanqi could not help but laugh when he heard Zhou Shuer's complaint. Only the ignorant would think the shop is exploiting its customers. Cheng Yi tugged at Zhou Shuer's sleeve somberly and said, "Shuer, that's enough. Don't say anything else." One look at the lady's expression was enough to know He Jing had made an acceptable proposal. Fortunately, After her previous failure in picking perfumes, Cheng Yi had learned her lesson, ensuring she did her homework on luxury brands, including Les Elfies. Not even He Jing might know more than her about Les Elfies. The Qing family's housekeeper had once said that He Jing preferred another brand to Les Elfies. With that thought, she spoke confidently, saying, "I accept He Jing's proposed settlement." The lady turned to He Jing dutifully. "I'm fine with this arrangement." What else was there to say if both sides had agreed to the terms of the competition? "He Jing, do you want to go first, or shall I?" Cheng Yi smirked. "I'm fine with anything," He Jing replied. Cheng Yi stole a glance at Yan Hanshi. Since God had given her such a chance, she would show Yan Hanshi who was better. She, Cheng Yi, was the real daughter. Only she was worthy of being his fiancée. Chapter 114, Chapter 114, The Story. Chapter 114, The Story. Les Elfies was founded by the French craftsman Zoe. He redefined the limits of a new generation of light, luxurious pens. Zoe's partner, Alfred Nehemias, a banker, believed that writing was the privilege of the aristocracy. He introduced the concept to his aristocratic peers, who soon fell in love with the idea. Alfred hired dozens of craftsmen to develop his concept, inadvertently improving ink pen technology to produce the most beautiful, lightweight pen possible. Together, they founded Les Elfies, formerly known as Roy de Espérance, reflecting the essence of elvish delight in their works and their branding. The following years saw the market for fountain pens booming, with Roy de Espérance standing at the forefront of this new age. The King's series of fountain pens was their most popular, a classic among classics. Cheng Yi maintained an elegant smile the entire time she recited the history of Les Elfies. Even the lady who despised her could not help but show a hint of surprise. Had she been too quick to judge? Zoe, the founder of Les Elfies, once said that every fountain pen had a companion who understood its beauty and cherished it from the bottom of their hearts. Therefore, whenever they encountered a dispute between two parties fighting over their goods, the party that showed themselves as the most suitable owner would win the right to purchase the fountain pen from them. None of their fountain pens was cheap. Cheng Yi rattled on for 5 minutes, her eyes never leaving Yan Hanshi's face. Yet, Yan Hanshi remained indifferent, as if listening to a sermon. Yan Hanshi's lack of response made Cheng Yi anxious. Could Yan Hanshi have no knowledge or interest in the brand and find her speech unattractive? "Do you have anything else to add?" He Jing asked. Cheng Yi gnashed her teeth, having no choice but to tear her gaze from Yan Hanshi. She suppressed her disappointment and smiled at He Jing, taunting. "Do you have anything to add?" "Of course," He Jing replied. "You've described so much about the brand's history but next to nothing about the pen you want to buy. What I would like to add is the story of this pen." Cheng Yi's expression stiffened. She looked at the half-wrapped pen in the gift box and said, "What story can this fountain pen have? Are you making it up on the spot? Do you think I'm as shameless as you?" He Jing giggled. Cheng Yi knew nothing about physics, yet she was so full of hot air, boasting that she was the best and lying through her teeth. Surprise shook the lady to the core, which showed in her expression. "Miss, do you know the story behind this fountain pen?" As a brand ambassador, the lady knew the story behind their most expensive pens but little to nothing about their cheapest ones. "This pen is called Le Cocon," He Jing said. "It's specially designed for women." "That's right, it's a pen for women. It's also the only one of its kind in Les Elfies." Adam, the third-generation heir of Zoe, the company's founder, fell in love with a poor woman named Monroe. She couldn't afford to read or use a pen. Her fate was tragic. She spent many years washing dishes in a restaurant, and her hands were full of calluses. This is where the pen's name originates. Adam was set up because of heavy competition in the family for the inheritor's position. It was a dark time for him. It was during this period that he met Monroe. She cared for him and gave him the courage to live. Eventually, Adam fell in love with her. However, he could never express his feelings for her because he was already engaged to another. Neither of them could tell the other how they felt for each other, and what followed was the two of them falling out of contact. Adam missed Monroe dearly and never gave up searching for her. Only in his final years did he reveal this to his son, the brightest, most glorious friendship that never got a chance to blossom. Adam's son was so inspired by his father's story that, in commemorating what could have been, he created the fountain pen we know today as Le Cocon. Lukokon represents the burning passion of love that was never allowed to bloom, a caterpillar whose metamorphosis into a butterfly failed, remaining trapped as nothing but a memory of what could have been, He Jing said. The pen isn't as expensive as all the others because of the memory it is meant to represent. He did not want anyone to miss out on love like his father had. Part 5 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching and listening. If you find it interesting, please give us a like, a comment and a subscription so that we have the motivation to make the next videos.